I'm wondering is if this microphone's too high. Guys, I see some of your microphones. I'm just going to move them back a little bit so some folks have papers that they have to put on the podium. So hopefully, I'll do another mic test just to make sure. Okay. Test 1, 2. Ready? Good.
We sat outside.
You guys can also come behind me. It's okay. There's enough room behind me too.
I want you to, I love it when you sign the swear word.
Okay.
I'm watching too.
Ano ai ke aloha ya kākou. Thank you for joining us today. In a moment, Governor Josh Green and Maui County Mayor Richard Bissen will join other government agencies to provide details on the fire and wind sensors that will be deployed across the state of Hawaii to mitigate and manage fires and to keep our communities safe and resilient. Without further ado, it is my honor to bring forward Governor Josh Green.
Aloha. So 7 months ago today, the tragic fire occurred here on Maui. And so we're grateful to be here with experts, with Mayor Bissen, to talk about some of the mitigation efforts we have set into place, set into motion, so that these kind of fires never happen again in a way that hurts us and hurts our people. We continue to recover, as everyone knows, and to heal as a state. We continue to invest in our many strategies to get back on our feet. Inevitably, Maui will recover completely. A lot of the discussion over the last several weeks has been about housing, as everyone knows, and it can't happen fast enough. We understand that. Now, finally, more than half of the people have been able to leave the hotels and go into longer-term housing arrangements, and we're going to continue to work on that passionately. But today, after we've done some initial comments, we're going to hear from experts like Dr. Lori Moore Merrill, who is our U.S. Fire Administrator. She's a fantastic person, and bringing just wisdom about fires across the country and, again, these technologies. So I want to take a moment here at this fire station to mahalo the firefighters. They are amazing. I was speaking with the chief today, and I wondered aloud how many firefighters have left service after what was such an incredible and traumatic experience and a heroic experience, and it's been virtually none. It's amazing, actually, to imagine that everyone stayed, just like people stayed on duty during COVID and committed their lives to helping our state get through. Same thing happened with these firefighters. So they deserve our respect alongside the police and everyone else who engaged in the disaster. So we're going to talk soon about our mitigation plans. HIEMA has updated its 2023 hazard mitigation plan, and we've learned many lessons, not just from the fighting that we had to do in 18, but also what we've just experienced. Our communication plans have been validated with the mayors, and we've worked on that together, and I'm sure people want to hear more. But how do we stop the next fires? DLNR, Department of Land and Natural Resources, is now maintaining 18 miles of fire breaks in high fuel areas in West Maui, from Lahaina to Ukumehame. Our emphasis is on preventing and controlling regrowth of vegetation, which has been challenging after the recent rainfall. But we also have to be mindful that once that vegetation grows, it dries out after the course of about 2 weeks, as the experts shared with me, and that creates a big problem. So we'll be managing the vegetation along these firebreak routes, along Kula Forest Reserve Road. And we should all remember that the fire wasn't just in Lahaina. The brave firefighters were fighting fires all across this island. And on that same day, there were firefighters on Big Island also fighting fires. That's why when we talk about the sensors today, you're going to hear about how they're being deployed here in Maui, but also across the state. We've been clearing hazard trees in the burn areas. Waiho Spring Forest Reserve, they had to fell many trees. They're preparing to reopen that trail on April 1, 2024. It's not meant to be an April Fool's joke, just a reopening. We're also putting in capital improvement dollars for dip tanks and fuel mitigation across West Maui. So that's what's going on at the legislature right now. Over $1 billion has been discussed for the recovery effort in the House and the Senate also. So lots of resources are coming to bear on the crisis. Some specifics. We submitted, for instance, a $10 million request to fund the NOAA Transformational Habitat Program to actually manage growth and to be partnered with the local people for Summit to Sea management. That's what's necessary because, as we all know, and I think you're going to hear from some of the people that follow me, we all know that if we manage our land properly in the era of climate change, we are much more likely to stop any catastrophe from occurring. The fire on that day was definitely connected to our drying land. It was definitely connected to the super winds that we saw coming down the mountain. But we have to be prepared. So you're going to see technology today. Another couple minimal points. Emergency access roads for Lahaina campuses are being created. In October, just passed, our Department of Transportation constructed a 2.5-mile emergency access road connecting Lahaina Luna Road to the Lahaina bypass. And eventually, when we rebuild homes to the desire and spec of the local community, we're going to need these additional evacuation routes for students and staff who have all been so brave. So I'm excited to be announcing some of these plans today. There are a lot of additional emergency access roads for Oahu also that people should come to know about. I think we're going to just focus on Maui today, but I could name 3 or 4. One included is the road in Waianae over to the Paakea access road. So access roads, fire breaks, and escape routes are going to be important for us as we go forward. And our Department of Transportation, led by Ed Sniffen, he's a real go-getter. Let's just say that. So we don't hesitate when we have opportunities to use some of those dollars to make things safer. So in summary, lots of actions are taken quietly most of the time to make things safer. But today we wanted to show that we're bringing new technology together and new vision so that the future is just better for us as we fight fires. So again, here at 7 months, we honor those who we lost, the 101 individuals, and we're trying to help them heal. We appreciate more than anyone the firefighters that went through the day, that perilous day, and hopefully we're going to be able to deliver all kinds of extra safety measures with the best experts in the world for Hawaii. Aloha.
Mahalo, Governor Green. Up next, Maui County Mayor Richard Bissen.
Aloha kakahiaka kako. I just wanted to welcome everyone here, say aloha again, and mahalo to Governor Green. Also to welcome General Hara, who's with us, our Adjutant General, as well as Fire Administrator, who Gov's also already commented on, Dr. Moore-Merrill, as well as Undersecretary Dr. Dmitry Kuznetsov for being here with us today. So again, thank you to all of you. Today we're joined here at the Wailea Fire Station with County of Maui Fire Chief Brad Ventura. And I'd like to specifically recognize the valiant and the courageous efforts of our fellow firefighters and all of our first responders who are joining us today. Again, thank you for hosting us at this beautiful location. We continue to be indebted to your service and to the commitment that you are doing to keep our people safe here in Maui County. As we continue to move forward with our recovery efforts, we're working diligently, as Gov has mentioned in some ways already, to secure long-term housing solutions for our survivors, to expedite the debris removal to get survivors back to their properties, and to increase accessibility and our capacity for mental health services. Reflecting on the tragedy that our people have endured over the last 7 months, fire mitigation also remains at the forefront of our recovery efforts. We are already exploring ways to rebuild Lahaina safer and the introduction of an early detection system which will give our emergency responders a critical advantage in protecting our community. With this new technology, detecting fires at the very early phases will save lives. It features enhanced situational awareness and enables swift response to any emerging threat. We will be utilizing this new technology in Kihei and Lahaina and wherever else Chief would like to place the 20 units that will be coming to Maui County. And we have a demonstration happening right here as well. Yes. And we look forward to working with our fire and our police to implement these new practices. And again, it's all intended to protect the safety and the well-being of our people. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Mayor Bissen. I'm going to take this down just slightly. Okay. Next, please welcome U.S. Fire Administrator Dr. Lori Moore Merrill.
Aloha. I am Lori Moore Merrill, and I am the U.S. Fire Administrator. And Mr. Governor, Mr. Mayor, General Chief Ventura, and my colleague, Dr. Kuzniov, thank you for standing here with us today. You know, often we as individuals and communities, we learn, unfortunately, from tragedy. As firefighters and public servants, I can tell you that we often vow never again. That helps us personally. It helps us prepare for the next emergency. The impact of climate change-driven drought conditions, the warmer conditions, extreme heat, unusual weather, storms, high winds, all of these conditions were very likely to occur here again. Today, we're here to announce one more action toward ensuring that Lahaina is prepared, that Maui County is prepared, that Hawaii is prepared. Today, we're announcing the deployment of new technology that can sense smoke from fire and the particles that the smoke carries, alerting authorities to enable firefighters to move more quickly to engage to stop the fire spread. And as the situation might dictate, these sensors will also provide early alert information to inform evacuation. These fire sensors that are developed by the Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology are a tool to help communities better prepare for wildfire, especially in fire-prone lands. They are instrumental to building resilience in our communities and a sustainable future of Lahaina and other fire risk areas across the islands of Hawaii. Across the nation, the U.S. Fire Administration and America's firefighters are focused on an ongoing potential of wildfire in our communities. And we do that by focusing on a three-part cohesive strategy. One, resilient landscapes. You've already heard the governor mention that, including the reduction of rapidly burning vegetative fuels around our communities. Number two is having fire-adapted communities, where it is imperative that communities adopt building codes that are better to protect your structures, requiring the use of fire-resistant materials and reducing combustible attachments like decks and fences and outbuildings in our communities, and adding increased separation where we can between structures that will help reduce that structure-to-structure spread in the event of a wildfire. The third is having an effective response, including early alerting of ignitions that may occur and quickly dispatching enough trained and equipped firefighters to respond and stop the fire event before it becomes a disaster. As we work with the Hawaii Fire Departments to place and test these fire sensors, we are grateful to be able to contribute to the resilience of this community as Lahaina certainly continues to recover and the Hawaii prepares for future weather events. I want to thank you for allowing us again this opportunity to place these sensors. And if I may, I'll go ahead and turn it over to my colleague from Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology, Dr. Dmitry Kuzniov, to tell us more about these fire sensors. Dr. Kuzniov.
Thank you, Laura. Good morning. It's important to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity. As Undersecretary at Department of Homeland Security, my role is to look at the 22 operational parts of the department and ask what is it that we need today, but more importantly, what is it we need for tomorrow? Climate was mentioned by Dr. Laurie, and you know, there is this gradual change we're seeing around the world. Against that, we see these extreme weather events, variations, things that have not happened before, and we think about preparedness at the Department of Homeland Security in terms of how do you get ahead of that? What is it we can do from the science and technology point of view that can give us more advanced warning of things that we have never experienced before? And increasingly today, it's not just one event. It's the fact that fire and wind and flood and hurricanes and atmospheric rivers and collections of these are working together in ways that are impacting us that we have not experienced before. So how do we think about that? How do we get ahead of things that we have not seen or experienced before? What are the tools we need? And this is one of the steps. It is a step in the tool set that we're creating in partnership with the U.S. Fire Administration and FEMA, and certainly the state of Hawaii and Maui. And this is an important step. We have done initial trials in 11 states, as well as our bilateral partners in Canada, and we're trying to roll out the next phase of smarter sensors. Part of why we are deploying this here is because the air here is different. You have volcanic ash, you have other conditions, and what smart sensors like this will learn is what does the air feel like here, and what does an anomaly look like? What is a barbecue? What is a fire? What is something else? So you're not always getting false alarms. So there is AI built into this. There is smart learning. Part of it is to figure out what does the natural condition, the environment look like here. And the second is, well, what does something that is different from that? And how do you alert and prepare and feed into the emergency operations here in Hawaii to help people be more advanced in their understanding of what could transpire? So we have experts here as well to talk about these sensors. Happy to talk about it in as much detail as you want, but very happy to be here to see the deployment that's going to happen around the island. This is an important next step for us, so thank you.
See, we told Dimitri we barbecue a lot here. It's so he's adjusted the technology just to be right for us.
Okay. Mahalo, Dr. Kuznetsov. Up next, please welcome Hawaii State of Hawaii Department of Defense Adjutant General, Major General Kenneth Hara.
Good morning and aloha. As Administrator Moore-Merrill mentioned, Hawaii is also facing effects of climate change. We're seeing storms of greater intensity, higher winds, longer drought periods, and other effects that are affecting the entire state. And Governor Green also mentioned that the state is taking a lot of efforts and he listed off several mitigation projects. Over the past few months, the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency has been working closely with the U.S. Fire Administration, the Homeland Security Science and Technology Directorate, and working on the feasibility of placing sensors on existing infrastructure throughout the state. The U.S. Fire Administration is collaborating with the County Fire Department and experts to ensure that these sensors are strategically in place in known high-risk fire areas. Together, we are working to identify existing infrastructure to install the sensors, for example, on the poles of our all-hazard sirens. In addition, we look forward to leveraging technology for future mitigation projects because we see the shift, the risk that I talked about. And what I've been telling everyone is that we need to pay now or pay more exponentially. Before I leave again, I do want to also thank the firefighters. You guys are brave heroes, and mahalo for all you do for your county and for the state of Hawaii.
Mahalo, General Hara. And finally, I'd like to introduce County of Maui Director of Fire and Public Safety, Brad Ventura.
Aloha kakaiaka. And thank you for the introduction. I'm pleased to be joined today with fire chiefs from around the state. We also have with us today Fire Chief Kazuo Todd from Hawaiʻi County Fire Department and Fire Chief Michael Gibson from Kauai County Fire Department, both here to help us launch this new program. You know, all of the preparation that our firefighters put in is to be as quick and responsive as they can to a community. They spend countless hours doing everything and drilling and being prepared so that they can get on the truck and get going as quickly as they can. What's important is we get to the scene as fast as we can so that we can catch fires in their incipient phases. The fire stations are strategically placed throughout the county, and that helps us with quick response and early arrival. Today, we share one more tool that's going to help us expedite our response to our community's needs. Soon, as you see on the map here, we'll be deploying 2 strings of these sensors. One of these strings is going to be across Kihei. From your vantage point, it's up to the left here on the slopes of Haleakala is the area we'll be paying attention to. And the second string is in the Olowalu to Hokiokio area of Lahaina. We need every innovation possible, from equipment in the station to the equipment in the field, to help us with early detection. This will also increase our response and capability getting to the scene. The sooner we can get there, the smaller the fires will be. There's been other technology in the past, mostly with cameras to detect fires on the horizon in the mountainous areas. Today, as you've heard, some of the new technology that's in these sensors includes artificial intelligence, thermal imaging capability, and wildfire gas detection, which means that these sensors aren't just looking, they're also smelling the environment at the same time. That's a very important part of this project, because at night, when the thermal imager capability is working and the gas detection is working, we'll be able to earlier detect fires. These sensors will also be working together. And that's why we place them in strings, so that they can kind of talk to each other. They can not discuss, but they can recognize something and they can verify it on another sensor. And in doing that, this information will be critical to all of the county departments, because then we'll be able to determine how big a fire is, how quickly it's moving, and what kind of resources we need to deploy and where we need to deploy the resources. Each county has dedicated their data and communications members within their department over the last couple of months to learn and train with these sensors. The goal was to understand how they work, where we should place them, and how we are going to interact with the sensors moving forward. Each department, as you can see on our map, is creating their own specific plan in their own specific community. And these are the 2 areas that we have chosen that we feel have high risk for our community. And if the program is successful, which we intend it to be, then we'll be able to acquire more sensors and deploy them throughout the county and other places. The goal is always to protect our highest risk areas with the most values at risk. Our community, where people are, so that we can protect the homes, the infrastructure, and the lives there. I'd like to also add to what kind of most people said here, which is to express our thanks to everybody. All the speakers that are here today are really an important part of getting these sensors to all 4 counties in Hawaii and deployed throughout all of our departments' use. Without them, this project would not have been started, and especially the Department of Homeland Security Science and Technology Directive. We're really excited about the project. We're very grateful for the support from the federal government as well as our state and county government, and we look forward to the success of this program. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Chief Ventura. With that, we will formally open up to questions from the media, and we will start with Chelsea Davis from Hawaii News Now.
Can you explain someone how exactly it works? Does it alert the fire stations with like an alarm, or does someone need to be watching a computer? Can you just walk us through that?
So the question is around, can we have a demonstration in depth regarding the fire sensors?
So we're going to have Debbie, who is in charge of this company, and she described the technology to all of us. So this is Debbie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So we work with the fire department on how they want to be notified, but the system will send a text alert to whoever is opted in, and the text alert will continue. Thank you. Will include a link to the location where we believe the fire to be.
Debbie, tell them about the sensor and these sensors under here.
Yeah, so in the device, we're making 30 measurements. It includes gases, chemicals, particulates, and environmental conditions. That's right in the bottom of the sensor right there. We do edge processing, so we send little tiny packets of data up to the cloud for the AI to analyze and decide if there is a fire or not. And we also have the IR heat sensor, which will give the firefighters an indication if there are flames or smoldering or what the fire may be.
Okay. Next question, A'ali'i Duklo, KITV4.
How successful have these sensors been in the 11 other states?
The question is, how successful have these sensors been in the 11 other states that have the technology?
We've trained a lot on prescribed fire, and with that, we've had over 200 fire detections. 20 of those have been what we call unplanned fire, which would mean we found the fire before or at the same time as another technology and alerted the local authorities.
I think one way to look at these is like tsunami detectors in the ocean, right? So you don't just have one and you see a wave coming, but you have multiple sensors in different areas where you can see if there's been an earthquake, whether or not a tsunami is being created. And with this technology, just as I'm learning about it with you, you put out a bunch of sensors so you can begin to get early indications. And then the professionals can go out really quickly, maybe minutes or who knows, maybe an hour before they might have actually seen flame or had someone from the community report something. So we're going to continue to expand our capacity to do technology for Hawaii. And frankly, we're thoughtful about the rest of the country because there have been fires in so many places. We're hopeful that if we can be a model for detection and prevention, other people will be safer too.
All righty. Could you state your name? Okay.
Just a couple questions. One, how far a range do these sensors have? And Chief, if you could also talk about the string and why exactly in this particular location. And I'm looking, you said up, up the slope of Haleakala. About how far is it from the reservoir?
Okay, so clarifying questions around the location selected and the range.
I'll talk a little bit of it. So as we mentioned, the sensors will be able to detect from each other. So we have them located close enough that we believe they'll be able to sense the same fire from multiple locations. The information that's coming in is still being evaluated. Every environment is different. The winds are different. The salt air is different here. The fuels that burn are different. So the sensors are going to have to learn all of those different types of our environment. So the areas that we place them in, and as I mentioned, kind of looking Mauka, that's where we're going to have slowly detected wildfires. There's potential if there's a wildfire right across the street here with all these homes and people driving around that we'll have people doing early detection. But at night at 2 o'clock in the morning, something odd happens in a field. A lot of the fires that we go to in the evening especially are small smoldering fires. So that's something that all the particulate sensors would be picking up prior to maybe somebody seeing it and calling 911. So we're looking at our wildland urban interface, which is the area outside of town where a fire would be starting and then working its way towards the town.
Okay, Akaku.
What is the program time when you put these strings in various locations? Do they have to take a particular period of time to program to that environment?
The question is around the length of time that it takes for the technology to adapt to the environment.
I can maybe step in just. Broadly what we do with technologies we deploy is a test and evaluation phase because a lot of these are the first of their kind. They're smarter, they're networked differently. And so we go through phases of testing and development to understand exactly this. How dependent is it on local conditions, on terrain? What is the placement? Depending on different places we are testing them. So we finished one of those phases December of last year with sensor technologies, and we're entering this year a different phase of deployment as well, where we're going to be testing under different conditions. So it's part of an evolution. This is still development of a smarter technology to give us more advanced awareness. It's not just, this is the final thing. I think this is our next step in a progression of advanced awareness that can help us.
Before we talk about the length, let's let Debbie just answer how long will it take them to learn here?
Yeah, so once the sensors are installed and connected, they start sending data immediately. However, over the first days and weeks, they are day and week, singular, they are learning the environment, and that's when they'll settle in and become more accurate. So we may be slightly less accurate the first day if a fire breaks out right away, but we can still detect the fire if it breaks out, unfortunately, immediately after you deploy.
So it's like data and observation, right? And they can reconfirm. By a month in, we hope they'll be able to smell Chief Ventura.
Okay. Yeah. You okay? Okay. Max, is it okay? I'm going to go to Max. KHON2.
Thank you. Question for Chief or Mr. Hara. I guess internally, what kind of training has to take place, right? They get the alert, and then it goes to the fire station or to an agency. How is staff getting trained in order to respond to that alert?
The question is around staff training regarding the technology.
So as we mentioned, we are in the early phases here, and we're still trying to exactly identify where the notifications will be going. The part of the process is to notify the station in that district sooner than later. So we're working, as was mentioned, it's the cell service involved and a text message is sent out. So we'll probably be sending it out to a small group of members in our department who at some point, one of them is always on duty. The way some of these sensors have worked in the mainland and in California is notification is made and they'll send like a forward responding battalion chief out to a forested area to confirm that the fire is happening, and then they'll send the resources behind that. We want to be probably a little bit more progressive because of the winds and our smaller community here. So as we develop the response package for these, it'll probably be a notification like what you've heard this morning at the station, and the resources in the district will probably be immediately going.
Thank you for waiting.
I was wondering how the sensors, how do they communicate with the fire station? Is this through the cell phone towers? What is the link?
So how do these fire sensors communicate with the fire stations?
Thanks. So we do rely on cellular data. So when there is a normal day like we're looking at today and all systems are in place, we need to place these in areas that have sufficient cell phone service. We looked at places like Kahiki Nui, but the cell phone service is a lot weaker in that area. So as of just this Tuesday, we met with FirstNet, which oversees the first responder network, and we talked to them about how they can increase their cell phone service in our county so that we can deploy these in more rural areas as well. But it is reliant on a cell phone link.
If I could follow, how are they powered?
So the units will be all inclusive, and we can mount them basically anywhere we need to, on a water tank, on a light pole, on a utility pole, on the top of this tower here, the police station. We've been having conversations with all of these parties so that we can create that string across the community. They'll have a photovoltaic panel which will charge a battery, and it'll run, and it'll be all inclusive in its own package. Thanks.
Any other questions? Cami. Okay, question around cost of the sensors.
So the cost will ultimately depend on the area that's covered in the density, but it works out to about $10 an acre.
If I can just make clear, though, the 80 that are being deployed right now in Hawaii, so 20 here in Maui County, and then each of the other chiefs that are here are all receiving 20 sensors. These are part of the ongoing project, and so these are being brought in by Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology, and the USFA at no cost to Hawaii. So you're responsible for deploying them in the infrastructure, as you've just heard, but the sensors themselves, for this portion, there is no cost to the state.
Chelsea's got another one. Go for it.
In the Lahaina fires last August, we saw that cell service went down because of high winds. Is there a backup plan in case fire causes cell service to go down?
Clarifying question around the fact that these rely on cell service, so is there a backup plan in consideration?
I'll take it, and there may be some other elucidating comments. So the idea is we detect the fire first. If the fire is already there taking the cell towers down, we should have told them about that so that they're getting there first. There are other technologies under development, including LoRa and satellite communications, but those aren't being deployed as part of this initial assessment.
Also, the range is pretty extraordinary of these sensors. So the sensors can be, more than a mile away. In some cases, this thing could detect fire from 5 miles away under some circumstances. So they can begin to get not just very early indications, but also they may very well be positioned in multiple areas outside the fire zone, but they will have alerted fire to get into the community.
Okay. You got one more?
Yeah, when will these be deployed?
Okay, when will these be deployed?
Brad, you can join in. So today we're making the announcement. The intent is that the sensors will be on the islands by April 8th, so 1 month from today. We wanted everybody to start to get the infrastructure in place, but the sensors will arrive here and be deployed 1 month from today on April the 8th. You want to add? Sure.
So I'll just add, as I kind of mentioned, we have to work with partners on this. We don't own every light pole, every utility pole, every piece of infrastructure that we need to put these sensors on. So for some places, as you look at a string, there might be an area that we're waiting for an agreement or a lease or something of that nature to work with a company. But the ones that are kind of the low-hanging fruit and are on county properties, that we'll be able to deploy as quickly as possible. Obviously, our goal is to always beat the next fire season with our training, with our equipment, get everything out in front of the fire season. Fire season here is almost year-round, but as we've seen, the fuels are growing and everything's pretty green right now. It only takes a couple of weeks to dry up.
I'm going to move over. Akaku, KHON, any addition? Good. Follow-up?
Yes, I do have a question. Related to the investigation by AG's office, any update on that, and kind of when the public can expect to see some initial reporting?
So the question is around an update on the AG's investigation.
Yeah, thank you. I spoke to the Attorney General yesterday. Sometime mid-April, she hopes to give some preliminary findings. The full breadth of the investigation will take a long time, but we know people are eager to get not just findings, but also just recommendations. Really, we've had many discussions, and I can tell you from the earliest discussions I've had with the Attorney General, she reports heroic efforts from fire and police, and that's what we're talking about here today. She also has validated the conditions of the day, which was essentially a storm and a fire. But yes, we'll get some additional information, mostly because we want, in advance of the end of the legislative session, we want them to be able to support best practices. Projects like this, though this one won't have initial cost, but additional resources for the community from the fire. And we have already seen minute-by-minute descriptions of all of the heroic work that was done on the ground. But that will be out, and honestly, we're focusing on response now. 7 months out, we announced this. 8 months out, we have them in state, and then fire season's just around the corner. So we've already begun to really prepare to minimize risk for the next year.
Okay. And with that, you have one more? Okay. With that, this formally concludes today's news conference. Mahalo nui, everyone. Principal, Brad, can you guys come? Reese, photo?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here and